Hello and welcome back Couchside. I'm Carly of Gnarly Carley Gaming, and today I will be previewing a new game from Triceratops. It is called Wild Duo, and it is 5 animal-themed games in one, all built for exactly 2 people. So what then is this collection all about? Well, this collection is unified around the thematics in each of the games. Each of the games is based on a different animal species, thus Wild Duo. It's a bunch of different animals, and their behavior in real life dictates kind of the style of each of these games. They're all smaller, little, I would say 5 to 30 minutes, leaning towards 15 to 30 minutes, abstract strategy games. So think chess like. So simple to learn, hard to master, and they all provide a little dance for exactly 2 people, built around a pattern of life for the animal that they feature. So each of the games basically comes with a little baggie of tokens and a board designed specifically for it. So this is the whale game that is featured, and it has its own little board as well. And so the series basically packs out the box with 5 of these and 5 boards to play on, and all of these tight little games for 2 people to enjoy. They all play very differently, but share the same level of easy to learn, hard to master, abstract style at their core. So it really is a collection based around different mechanics, all working differently with different pieces as well. So a simple, beautiful, animal-themed collection of games. And so what I will do is I will break down each of them quite simply and then give some perspective on who I think this might be good for. So let's break these games down, and I might as well start with Baling Bubbles, which is the whale game I already teased. It's about humpback whales and their pattern of encircling their prey in order to eat them. They use something called bubble net feeding, which, the long story short, is essentially they will cooperate to spin bubble nets around schools of fish in order to capture them. So they'll spin tighter and tighter, and the fish essentially get trapped in a column of water, and that it can scoop in, inhaling a lot of fish and water at once, and then filtering out the water. And so they're able to very efficiently work together to feed. And so in this abstract game, each player starts with essentially a group of whales on either end and a school of fish in the center that they would like to capture themselves. Use it with your side and the other player's side, and in order to win, you have to get your school of fish to the center. Now, to do so, play rotates between the 2 players. Every turn you can move any of your pieces, and you can move them in any direction in exactly a straight line. And it has to go as far as possible. So I can shoot off my whale all the way to the other side, but I'm trying to essentially build up a bunch of movements in order to get the school of fish exactly to the center. No other piece can block the center, and you can't just send your school of fish to block the other one out. And so it's a dance of trying to coordinate to get the fish to the middle. And so you're bouncing off of each other, and what ends up happening is a lot of times you slowly work towards the center, and you have to be careful about building up a wall in the center, because you want to do that so you can get yourself through and stopped in the center, but you don't want to create a pathway where the other person can shoot their own school of fish in. The alternative win condition in this one, because if everyone's just like 2 on their game in that way, is if you ever trap another player's school of fish so that it cannot move. So if I surrounded it with my own pieces, then I would also be deemed the winner. That's harder to do though than not. These games have averaged around 25 minutes or so for us. At first it seems like an impossible dance because there's so many different directions you can move. No directionality is restricted. At first we were like, should they at least restrict the school of fish movement to vertical and horizontal and not leave diagonal count? But it always resolves. In every game that I've played, at least, it's resolved to the center. And so I can see a world where blocking is possible, but usually people are really perceptive to it and keep that out of the way because there's that one piece that they care about more than any other. And so that is Baling Bubbles. Very simple, but a hard little dance. It reminds me a lot of Battleship, if you ever played it, just in the shooting pieces across. But it's this lovely little game of encircling, and when you do hit it in the corner, or in the center rather, it's really satisfying. The next game in the series is called Sealed Shores, and it is the sea lion game. It features South American sea lions and their mating behaviors. So essentially, they spend most of their life in the water, but during mating season, they come on shore, and it's very much a game of dominance for both territory control as well as the females within that territory. And so this game is sort of a game of territory control, but it's not just mastering the space on the board, but you're just trying to block out an opponent. Essentially, players will start with their sea lions on this board that is kind of different interlocked circles. And on your turn, you can move any of your sea lions as many spaces as you like along the lines it's connected to. So there's kind of like circle lines as well as straight lines, and you can move as many spaces you like in any direction, except you can't go through any other sea lions. And the goal of the game is to block out your opponent so that one of their sea lions cannot move on its turn. So again, very simple game. On your turn, you just pick a sea lion, move as many spaces as you like in directions that you can, and the really tricky thing is to not block yourself out here while starting to encircle an opponent. And what I think is most interesting is in a lot of abstract games, you can kind of focus on a region of a board or a couple of pieces that become like kind of your crucial pieces that you're utilizing. And in this one, all of them can matter. I can't really ignore pieces because an opponent can capitalize on that and potentially isolate something and block it off. And so I like that my awareness in this game has to shift to the entire board. Again, super simple. You're picking a piece and you're moving it however you'd like in whatever direction you can. But in practicality, I like how scattered my brain gets to be in this one. And plus, sea lions are pretty dang cute. So that is Sealed Shores in a nutshell. The third game that I will talk about in the series is Monkey Monarchs, and it is both the game that I am the worst at and probably like the most. And in this one, it's talking about the golden snub-nosed monkeys and, again, also kind of their breeding behaviors and community norms. In this case, they usually have a one male group with a variety of females, and that male kind of leads. It's kind of an alpha male. But around that group that lives together, eats together, breeds together, there tends to be a lot of like bachelor, like subordinate males that will also interbreed with the group. So if one of them takes over, there tends to be like uncertainty about paternity, so they won't just kill all of the offspring. But what you essentially get is these little groups that revolve around one alpha male with a variety of very close females that are bonded together, as well as another section of males that are also really bonded together. And so what this abstract game does is it has a player's cohort, and again, they don't usually intermix, they don't get along well, and within that you have some females, some what they call bachelor males, and then an alpha male figure. And your goal is either to kind of master the other clan of monkeys by getting your alpha male to the starting spot of the other alpha male player and opposite corners, or else to basically entrap them and eliminate the other alpha male from the other group. And how you do that is using coordinated efforts. On your turn, you can move any of your pieces one space. And if ever you trap an opponent's piece, which is essentially having one piece on one side and one on the other, and that could be diagonal, that could be, again, horizontal or vertical, a very flexible game. But you have to do it in a coordinated way. So females coordinate with other females, and bachelor males coordinate with other bachelor males. Alpha male can coordinate with anybody. But if I, for instance, had my female on one side and pieces in the middle of the other player and placed another female, then I could trap those pieces and take them off the board. So you're kind of more of an elimination style game. It's a much more brutal game. The first time I played, my first move that I ever made resulted in me being eliminated, because you really have to think critically. And another big part of that is there's deception plays, which is that if you have a female, you could use the other person's female to entrap another type of member. And what I mean by that is females aren't fooled by females. They're all incredibly bonded and well known. But if another player has their female color and another type of piece and then I put my female there, then I can take that piece too. So you have to be really mindful of your own pieces because they can be used against you, but only in the select circumstance that the same type of piece can be mirrored on the other side. And so this one's a really difficult dance for my brain, especially in terms of how you have to consider how other players' pieces can eliminate yours. And so I really like this one. There's not that many pieces, but it is quite difficult. And I find equally that trapping can be a concern for the alpha male, but also just if enough pieces break away and their alpha male is closer to the spot, sometimes you just can't stop the flow. And so you really have to watch both sides of that win condition pretty carefully in order to do well. And so I really like it. Again, super simple. You move one space per turn with one piece, but doing so in our house, we typically have that rule of like when you let go in abstract strategy games is when your turn is complete. So I'm always like, wait, nope, like nope, and like it's good. It's like crunchy and wonderful. I'm so bad at abstract strategy games, but that one I like a lot. The fourth game I will talk about is arguably the prettiest one to me and also very satisfying. This is Connect 4 grown up a little bit and also reminds me of the old game Othello that I grew up with. In this one, it's called Mannequinmates and it's about bird mating. And essentially, in the wild, there's always a group of men, male birds, and there's a dominant one as well as some subordinate ones, and they all do kind of this coordinated dance in a row to attract a female for the alpha male, and then the other ones learn from this behavior. So in the game, you're just trying to make like a row of your birds, 4 in a row on this rainforest grid. And each player will have a color, either purple or white, and on your turn, you can either place a bird or you can move a bird. And if you move a bird, you can move it one space, and the patterning of the board is every other white and purple. And you can either move it one space onto any color, regardless of your color of bird, or if you start your turn on a space matching your color. So if I have purple birds and I'm on the purple space, I can move as far as I want along a purple diagonal on the board. So it's easier to shoot across the board as long as you're sticking to your own colors. And the goal of the game is to get 4 in a row. Now, if you remember the monkey game, if you get pieces on either side of an opponent's piece, so that's diagonal, vertical, whatever it may be, you, instead of trapping it and removing it, in this case you flip it, and on the other side is the other player's color. So in that way, you can actually kind of shift the board in your favor by moving things and coordinating not only to get in a line, but also to convert another player's piece can be that crucial win. And now a player's piece will not flip from placing a new bird onto the map, because remember your choices are to move a bird or place one, and you can place one anywhere. And so if I had one next to an opponent, I can't just place to move it on the other side. That has to be done as a result of movement. But there's this big dance of shifting colors and trying to coordinate for your full lineup to woo a hypothetical female that isn't here. But it's a really cool game that kind of brings together a bunch of things that felt really familiar to me while also being a bit silly. I think the flipping mechanic is really interesting. It definitely suits some people better than elimination style games because it can shift back. But I think in this one, sometimes when it rains, it pours. If a board kind of falls to the other color, more and more likely that you won't be able to recover from there. Granted, elimination can also feel that way because once your pieces get wiped out, you just have less potential. But this one is a cool little flipping birds game. And so yeah, that is Mannequinmates for you. So last but not least in this series, we have our elephant game, the feature on the box, the big one. And on this one, both players start out on the board with 2 different colors, a orangey red color and a yellow color, and they all represent different elephants that we have control of. And on your turn, you're going to move 1 elephant or elephant stack, because these will start to stack up across the board as we move them. And the goal at the end of the game is to have the most little elephant herds, which comprise a stack of at least 4 elephants with your color on top is how you would say that you have one of those. Whoever has the most wins. There's a version where it's just whoever is the tallest one wins, but the core of the game, the most of those. How do you get them? Well, on your turn, you must move an elephant or a stack that already exists, and it moves based on its height. So at the beginning of the game, they're all spread out. Every elephant can move one, but it has to end its movement on top of another elephant or elephant stack. And you can move any of the ones that you have control over, so where your color's on top. So at the beginning, you're always moving one, and you're just covering up and building these little stacks of 2. But as soon as it's a size 2, it has to move 2 spaces. And it's exactly 2 spaces, and it has to land on another elephant. So eventually, these herds kind of become more and more isolated, and there can be times when you might have a stack of 3 and you're trying to get it to 4 so it counts for you, but there's nothing within that radius that exists anymore, so it just can't move. And so maybe you try to move something in that direction if possible, but sometimes it just isn't. And so it's this coordinated effort of using your pieces and other pieces in order to make this happen. In the beginning of the game, it's a complete cluster because I can make something a size 2, but all of these pieces are so close because the whole board is full that it very easily can be stolen by another player to make it theirs. And so it's not only how you build up, but it's how you get things out of the way so opponents can't disrupt the things that you've already built. And it's really easy to do, especially with those ones that can move just like hop on top. But you have to watch the directions that you pull these stacks, because if you don't have any more pieces to regain control in an area, you can lose it. And so again, this one I think is typically the one that is on the shorter end for us of all of them. The elimination one, the monkey one, can also be fairly short depending on how skillful players are at it. But this one, because there's only a set number of moves that can be made, and it ultimately results when players can't make moves anymore on both ends, whereas other ones are your whole goal is to trap another player. In this case, both players are going to be tied up eventually because there's only so much space and only so many elephants. That this is a snappier one, and I really enjoy that it's not just whoever has the most stacks in control or something like that, but you also have to get them to a certain size. And so it kind of becomes more of a game of not quite risk reward, but you have to take risk in order to get what you want and coordinate much more thoughtfully than just trying to do like a simple area control game. So again, very simple, just like all the rest, but tight and lovely and wonderful as well. So that right there is Wild Duo, which is the collection of 5 games for 2 players. And I think it's really light and lovely. I think if you're looking for a great collection of games that is just really like those nightcappy games, you can have this over coffee or tea or a drink at the end of the night, or just like something quick before bed with a partner, friend, roommate, whatever it may be, where you just like want to get something out and engage and have that little dance with someone. None of these feel excessively brutal to me. They're really easy to learn, difficult to master, especially if you're my brain, because they're all abstract strategy games. They're very light, lovely, and they just root themselves in baby theme and intrigue. I also think they could be good. I don't think of this naturally because I'm not a parent, but I think they could be good for like those new gamers too that are starting to branch into some of the more sophisticated thinking of play. Because again, rule sets are very simple. Most of the games on your turn, you're just moving in a very simple way, but what you're trying to accomplish takes a little bit of thought and patterning. So this isn't like 6-year-old deep, but as you start to get those 8 to 10-year-old minds moving within a world of games and strategy, I think this could also be very good. But I like it as an adult gamer with my friends for more of that like nightcap, let's play something that's 20 minutes while we catch up, or even longer if we're just like chatting and want something to play through. Almost akin to like those bar side games where you just want something that's like light and pocketable. And the beauty of this one is it's a collection that comes all together. So you have a variety of different types of games that you can play, but all with a very unique feel and like a lovely little art style. I think production of games, while it does not a good game make, can be something really joyful. And I like the animal themes. I was about to say I'm a slut for animal themes. I'm very smitten with animal themes in general. If you know me, you know I love things like Ark Nova and those kind of stuff. I find it really joyful to play in that way. And I like that it's built around thematics that are real, even in very simple ways. And so it's good for folks who are looking for that light little something. Now, granted, it's also an abstract strategy game, and that's not for everyone. I'm pretty bad at them, even though I still really like them. Like the chess-like dance just doesn't always compute with me. I'm not always good when it comes to like spatial reasoning. I've won plenty of these, but those are harder for me. So I would say this wouldn't be for folks who just don't typically like those kind of games that like light rules with depth and that abstractness to it. The theme is there. You're not deeply entrenched in it, but that's just because the rules are incredibly simple. This isn't elongated play. This is trying to best someone and have a tight little experience with them. So that is Wild Duo in a nutshell. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and otherwise I will see you all for the next video.